July 7th, 2016. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 103 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
So it seems like the last few episodes, we've started the shows with a lot of bad news.
Yep.
Bad beats, or, this promotion's gone, or, things like that.
Typical gambler stuff.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't think we have any bad news in this episode.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll come up with something.
Yeah, there'll be something, I'm sure.
But I can't think of any bad news looking through the show notes here. Anyway, let's start off with some good news that we heard from our good friend, Dr. Taylor. He was in Las Vegas. He went to the Downtown Grand, and they have restored their free buy bets promotion.
Wow.
Yep.
I think that's strictly because of us
complaining
about
it.
it.
It's because we were complaining about it on the last episode. I think that's why they changed it.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. All seriousness, though, they stopped for a month.
Right.
1 month. And for them to start this up again, they must have really seen a drop at the craps tables.
Or they got a lot of comments.
Maybe.
I mean, it might have been a lot of people coming in, we love that, and you hear it enough.
That
They're
could
like,
be.
okay, let's put it back. Keep them coming.
Yeah. Well, it's like we said, we had no intention of going back there. Not out of protest, but why go there?
Right.
And now we've got a reason to go back.
Now there is a reason to go there.
Yeah, so hopefully it will still be in effect when we're there. Probably next time we'll be there is in VIMF in October. Maybe it'll still be there, and we'll take advantage of it.
Yes,
but,
we'll definitely play there if it's there.
I got to hand it to Downtown Grand. They try a lot of different things. Some are successful and some are not. And I'm, hoping that this is something they become known for and they just stick with it.
They market a lot. I get a lot of stuff from them.
Do you get a lot of stuff?
Yeah, I get a lot of stuff from them. So they're trying.
But to start the promotion again so soon after they had stopped it,
right,
to me means the pressure was coming from somewhere.
Yeah, they saw something.
Yeah. Okay, so a few episodes back, we talked about how Caesars Total Rewards had this thing called the Spring Tier Credit Bonus Offer. And it was where you would get 50% bonus on all the tier credits you earned between April 1st and June 30th. So June 30th has passed, and it was the kind of promotion where you had to opt in manually online. You actually, it wasn't like automatic. You had to actually do it. I think the opt-in was probably to make sure they had your email, because that was one of the things you had to fill in was, do we have your email? But anyway, you get 50% a bonus on all your tier credits. There was a 25,000 tier credit max that you could earn. So that was the cap.
Right.
You're probably going to get all 25,000.
I would assume. Yeah.
I was figuring it out today. I'm probably going to be getting about 8,000 if I'm calculating it right. Yeah, it's not bad at all. It's not reward credits, just tier credits to help your tier level.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really change my tier level that much.
No.
But for some people, it could be significant.
Sure, it could boost them up to the next level from platinum to diamond or gold to platinum or something like that, yeah.
Well, remember the other night, Steve was out at Terra's, and he was just trying to get to platinum.
Oh, that's right. He was, yes.
So now if he had opted into that, he certainly would have made it, right?
That's true.
Shot him over into platinum.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. Of course, before we even met him, he may not even known about it, right? They didn't really publicize it much.
No, and you had to. It all came through email too.
Yes.
There was no mailer, so they had to have your email.
Yeah. But anyway, supposedly, everybody who took part in it, they will see their tier credit bonus applied by July 15th, which is next Friday as we're recording this. I'm curious to
see if that happens.
Yeah, me too. I keep watching it every day to see if it gets in there.
You know how Harrah's goes with their...
I know.
I mean...
And we opted in, right? You went on and opted in. So
well, it had a thing on there. You just hit that said opt in, and you just hit it, and then it said you are qualified or whatever.
Yeah.
So I did my dad and myself. So, and I know my brother did it.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. So we've got a week.
Get it.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of confident that they will, but we'll see.
All right.
I don't know why.
You have a lot more faith in them than I do.
Yeah. Here's some other good news. So a while back, we talked about a case where Stephen Curry's point total for a playoff game was corrected the day after the game was played, right? They had not credited him with a basket.
Yeah.
So they corrected it the next day. As a result, it changed the results of the over-under winning wagers. Now, we never did hear any specifics about how casinos handled that, if they handled it at all. I'm sure it wasn't that popular a bet anyway. And
No,
so, I don't know how
it
it
might have affected only a few people, and
Right.
they just kind of blew it off,
Yeah.
right?
Anyway, listener Dennis sent us a link to a post at the New York Racing Association site about how they made good on a controversial horse racing outcome. And I'm going to read what it said on their site. It said, in the 8th race at Belmont Park on Friday, July 1st, an error was made in regards to the order of finish. And they don't go into what the error was. I couldn't find any additional information about it. But anyway, they said, as a result, NYRA will pay out both the official and actual superfecta for race 8.
So it affected the superfecta.
Superfecta. Now, a superfecta is where you wager on the first, second, third, and fourth finishers in order.
Right. So it must have been something to do with the 4th place finisher.
Maybe.
Well, because if it was the 3rd place, it would affect trifectas.
I know, but again, I don't want to go into too much detail. Maybe I'll put a link to the post here. And Mike, you can look. I put it in the show notes here. They ended up paying off 4 different superfecta combinations.
Okay.
Just 4. Not every possible combination, but just
Right.
4. And in each case, the first place finisher was the same, but then the second, third, and fourth were different. So, why didn't that affect like you said, the exacta, the trifecta, anything?
Yeah,
I don't
because
know.
That affects like exactas
Yeah.
and exacta boxes, quinellas.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, the site goes on to say the New York Board of Stewards will conduct a full investigation into the circumstances that led to the error. However, NYRA has taken this immediate action for the benefit of our horse players and to avoid any further confusion or ambiguity on this matter. So that's nice. I mean, it's a nice move. Now, I don't know if they're going above and beyond to make payments or if they, just still distributed the superfecta pool evenly so that they didn't lose any money on it. That wasn't clear from this article, so I don't know. But,
right. Yeah, well, that's probably the case,
Yeah,
right?
that could be.
That's probably the case. But it's interesting that none of the other bets are affected.
Well, at least there was no article to that effect.
Although the other bets may have been smaller amounts, right? I don't know if these horses were favorites or not.
Yeah, I
but
don't
if
know.
it's first and second, it might be a matter of just a few dollars difference. Whereas a superfecta could be a big difference.
Well, and who knows, maybe they got a complaint on it. And, somebody who bet an exacta isn't going to complain because, it's not
They've
that big a
already
deal to
tore
them.
up their tickets.
But a superfecta, hey, wait a second. I don't know. There wasn't a lot of more detail on it. Just this one.
It's kind of interesting. Well, and somebody had to have kept their ticket, right?
Yes, right. That's the other thing, too.
How
You'd
would
have
you know, right?
I don't know.
Because, usually after a race ends, I didn't win, you tear up your ticket or throw it away.
I don't know. That seems like maybe there was some controversy about it. So, whenever there's controversy about a race, you should hold on to your ticket.
You should hold on to it until the end of the day and make sure
that's the
there's
thing
no
is, do you hold on to it for a week? Usually it's just the racing day
I'm
and
going
then
to
you
hold
move
on to all my race tickets forever.
Don't you
From
always
now
do
on.
that?
I'm going to do that. I keep all my lotto tickets.
Good for you.
I'm waiting one day for the California State Lottery to call me up and say, you know what? You won 3 years ago.
That's what they'll do. They'll know what'll happen is in about 10 years, they'll say, we're looking for the person that has the most lottery tickets, uncashed lottery tickets,
Right.
winners or losers.
Well, I always keep mine, and everyone should, because if you get a big payout at a casino or something and you have to write off gambling debt, that's gambling debt.
There you go. Yeah.
So I just throw them in a box.
That is true. And in all seriousness, when you bet on the California lottery, you can deduct that from your state income tax.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if I had some gambling winnings and I had to pay state taxes, I'm going to deduct
Yeah.
that. So I save them all.
Yeah.
I do. Now I do throw them away after a year when I know they're no good anymore. But I'm not going to now.
Yeah. Folks, Dr. Mike cannot park his cars in his garage. He's got a 3-car garage. None of the cars can get in there. There's so much junk. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
It's almost
I'm embarrassed to say that, but you're not wrong. The rest of the house is immaculate.
I agree. There's no question. It looks fantastic. Yeah.
It's just the garage that, is an eyesore that we keep the door shut.
That's right. You've got a craps table in there and
There's a lot of gambling equipment that my wife would love for me to get rid of, but that's not happening either.
okay. So recently it was Father's Day, and my kids got me some personalized gifts, a lot of them having to do with this podcast.
Right. Yeah, mine too.
And one of them was a hand towel that said, you can bet on that on it. Okay. So when we go to Harrah's, Southern California, we're playing at a craps table. Anytime we need to leave the table for some reason, but we're not going to cash out, we're going to leave our chips there.
We're going to do something.
What they do is they give you a little hand towel to put over your chips.
Right.
And that way it kind of protects them from, somebody quickly snagging them, or it reserves your spot.
It'd be a lot more obvious if somebody lifted up a towel to take chips. Right.
So anyway, I took out this hand towel that the kids gave me out there. And, the next time I needed a towel, I said, "Oh, can I get a towel? Oh, wait, I have one." And just pulled it out and put it right out there. And it was a different color from the ones they have there. And it says, "You can bet on that." And I think half the dealers were laughing with me and half the dealers were laughing at me, which is fine.
Yeah, I'm sure there were several. I was laughing at you. You put it out on mine when I stepped away.
That's right, yeah.
And I didn't know anything about it. And I came back and I gave the towel back to the dealers. And you're like, "Wait a minute, that's my towel."
And, again, it was a different color. I don't know why you didn't look at it, because it looked completely different.
Well, it was white and it said, "You can bet on that." But I just picked it up real quick and threw it back.
Before you got there, the pit boss was like, "What is that over there?" I thought I was going to get in trouble for some. What is that?
Right. I'm surprised they let you do it. It's not regulation.
It's a towel.
It's not regulation. The people upstairs are looking at, the camera like, "What the hell's going on there? What's that guy doing with that towel?"
One more good thing to round out the beginning of our show here. So remember when you went out to Harrah's, Southern California on New Year's Eve, and you swiped your card at the kiosk to qualify for the $1 million giveaway that they were doing that night.
Correct.
But you didn't realize that you had to swipe your card at a different kiosk to get the 15 times multiplier for that night, for your reward credits.
Which was bull crap as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and so you did not get that bonus. It would have been significant. It would have been hundreds of dollars in reward credits.
It was several $100s. Yeah.
And you, after the fact, you went and said, "Hey, how come I didn't get this bonus?" And they actually saw, "Oh yeah, you only swiped it at the $1 million giveaway kiosk."
Right.
So,
and there were no signs that I remember. Now, there may have been. I'm not saying there weren't. I'm just saying I don't remember
you didn't
seeing
see it.
any.
And plus,
and there wasn't anybody sitting there saying, "Oh, you got to swipe both places."
And I think we made a legitimate claim that, why do you have to swipe at two different kiosks?
Why do you have to swipe at all?
I know that's the one thing we said. Why do you have to swipe at all? Especially if you're giving your card at the table, it should be automatic.
You give your card at the table now, and you put it in the machine. The machine knows you were there. The people at the table know you were there when they get your card. So why do we have to go through?
Well,
that
it's like you said. Maybe you don't want to be in the $1 million drawing. Maybe that would be too much stress for you.
Too much stress.
Yeah, you don't. You just
and I don't want more reward credits.
No.
Because oh my God, what would I do?
What would you do with them?
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, at least Harrah's, Southern California seemed to have learned part of their lesson, because when we went out here recently, they had a $1 million giveaway day. Actually, they were giving away $100,000 every hour instead of one.
One person getting $1 million. 10 people got 100,000, which was great.
And they had a 10 times reward credits multiplier, and you only had to swipe it once at one kiosk. You were automatically entered into both of them.
Yeah, and
Wasn't that nice?
Yeah, you know what I think happened? I think the people at Downtown Grand heard us complain about that and actually called Harrah's as a favor to a fellow casino and said, "You guys should really change that."
Wow, so we're kind of the conduit here. To Downtown Grand, that is then the conduit for other casinos.
Yeah, I mean, everyone at Downtown Grand, all the uppity or uppers, that's all they do is listen to our show and scrutinize it.
Oh, good. Yeah. If anybody works at Downtown Grand and is listening, just drop us an email, just so we can't believe what we're.
You're probably going to get an email just from Downtown Grand, "Dear Mark and Dr. Mike, F you."
We're going to get a bunch of bogus email. Yeah, I work at Downtown Grand.
Right.
You guys can both go to hell. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link at the top of the page. That way, when you make a purchase, we get a little kickback that helps cover the costs of hosting the show, and it doesn't cost you a thing. You'll pay the same price just like normal. So recently, Hunter, Chuck, and John from Vegas Tripping / Vegas Gang went to Macau.
God, that's great.
Yeah, and apparently they had a great time. They just raved about it. With a couple of exceptions, just the heat and humidity is just unbearable.
Yeah, it's Southeast Asia.
Anytime you're out there. And unfortunately, Hunter and Chuck had to suffer through a 3-day layover at the Shanghai airport.
And were they in the airport the whole time?
They actually had hotel rooms that they could go to and sleep at.
That's good.
But it took them about 3 days to finally get a flight out of there to Los Angeles.
Wow.
So if anybody wants to hear about that, on their podcast, they've got a podcast, 88 Days to Macau, and the episode entitled Shanghai. They actually recorded it from the airport, so you can kind of hear them talk about it. Anyway, while they were there, they came across a table game called Fan-Tan. It's, I guess, this Fantan. It's this kind of ancient Chinese table game that you don't find, well, you can only find in China basically now.
Okay.
And I want to talk about it because there's a bet at the Fantan table unlike any other bet I've ever seen. Okay, so let me explain the game. So in front of the dealer is just this big pile of buttons. Like shirt buttons.
Shirt buttons.
Yeah, just like, little buttons or beads or whatever you want to call it. Just a bunch of them, like maybe 150 of them.
So far,
okay?
I love this game.
Okay. So what the dealer does is she captures some of the buttons in this stack by placing a metal bowl over it. This metal bowl is called a tan koi, over a section of this big pile of buttons. And I apologize for my pronunciation on some of these Chinese terms, but this bowl is called a tan koi.
Because like you've said before, you do not speak Chinese.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
not at
Very
all.
good.
No,
All right.
don't read it. Don't speak it.
Speak
No.
it. You know all the signs, though. You can sign it.
Yeah, yeah, the sign language. I know Chinese sign language. So again, they take this tan koi and just put it over kind of a section of the buttons and kind of pull
Just
it down.
randomly?
So now there's a random number of buttons inside of this cup. And then she covers up all the buttons that didn't make it into the cup. It's got a big plastic cover, and she kind of scoots that out of the way so it's out of the way.
All right.
Okay, at this point, players make their wagers. And I'll talk about what you're wagering on after I kind of go through the mechanics of the game. Okay, so once the wagers have been made, she lifts up the cup and starts counting the buttons.
This is a game my girls are going to like. I mean, this sounds like a game for a kid.
And the way that she counts the buttons is she uses this small croupier stick to separate the buttons into lines of 4. And it's not a quick process. It's very meticulous.
No, I mean
it's this ritualistic thing. It's not like 4, 4, 4. It's like, kind of work it around.
Now
here
all the buttons
and
the
4.
same?
Yeah, they're all
look the
identical.
same.
They're like
Okay.
all white
All
buttons
right.
or whatever. You can't
Right.
tell the difference from them.
Okay.
So this is the way that she's counting them, is just separating them into these lines of 4 buttons. So as she goes through there, and typically there'll be like 50, 60 buttons that end up in this cup, something like that.
Okay. So how many are there to start?
Well,
Do
again,
we know?
I don't know, and that's a good question. But when you look at it, it's like maybe 150, maybe a couple of hundred. There's quite a few, but
right.
she's only taking like a section of
Right.
them, right? So
Okay.
now when she gets to the end of the counting, that final line of buttons she makes may have anywhere between 1 and 4 buttons.
Correct.
Right, so
Whatever the leftovers.
Whatever the leftovers are. So the game is players wager on how many buttons will be in that last line. So all this is an elaborate ritual to come up with a random number between 1 and 4.
Okay.
That's all it is. You could roll a 4-sided die and it'd be about, the same.
Same, right.
That's all it is. And but she goes through this meticulous, just, separating them. And I think that adds to some of the fun of the game, because when you get towards the end, you can kind of see what the number's going to be. And
Yeah, this is probably based on some ritual Chinese thing.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I'm sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's probably a reason they do this.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you bet? Well, you can bet on a specific number, say 1, 2, 3, or 4. This bet is called Fan. It pays 3-1, which is the fair odds, minus a 5% commission on the winnings.
Okay.
Not on the wager, but on the winnings.
So if you lose, you just lose your bet.
Yes.
If you win your bet 3 for 1.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1 minus the commission.
Minus the commission on 3. So, if you bet $1, you'd win 3, they'd charge you 5% commission on the $3. Right?
Okay.
In fact, all the bets at the table pay at fair odds minus 5% on the winnings.
Okay.
Okay, so betting on one number, that's one way to go. You can also bet on 2 numbers. This bet is called quack. If either of the numbers you bet on comes up, you win even money. Again, minus the commission. So it makes sense if you bet like on 1 and 3, right? Well, half the time, 1 or 3 is going to come up.
Right.
So you win half the time you lose, so it pays even money. Right?
Now, there is no 0, right?
Well,
because
0
the last line would be 4.
Right.
Just count
0 and 4 is the same thing.
Right.
Yeah. You can also bet on 3 numbers. This bet is called She Sam Hong.
Let's just call it Sam.
Okay. It's Sam. It pays 1 to 3 minus the commission. It's almost like you're betting against a single number.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to bet on 1, 2, 4.
Yeah. I don't like 2. No 2.
Oh, you want to bet on 1, 3, 4.
1, 3, 4.
Okay. So 1, 3, 4. So as long as 2 doesn't come up, you win. But you only get 1 to 3 on it.
Right.
Again, minus the commission. Okay. Here's the interesting bet to me. There's another bet called NIM, which, like the quack bet, is a bet on 2 numbers. However, the NIM bet will win if one of your numbers comes up, and it will push if the other number comes up.
So how do you determine which is the...
Well, that's the thing. So if you, for example, if you made a NIM bet on 4-2, you would win if 4 comes up. You'd push if 2 comes up, and you'd lose if 1 or 3 comes up.
Okay.
And you're specifically saying, I will win if 4 comes up, and I will push if 2 comes up. So a NIM bet on 4-2 is different from a NIM bet on 2-4.
Right, because then it's the other way around.
It's the other way
2 would
around.
win and 4 would push.
Exactly, yes.
I gotcha. So can I do a NIM box?
you
Which would be a quack.
You can't.
That would be a quack. A NIM box is a
You
quack.
figured it out, right? A NIM box would be a quack. Not quite, because it's a push we're talking about.
Right,
You know, if you're doing
right.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
not like
right.
an exacta box or something like that, right? No,
Right.
this is because of the push factor. And that's why I think this is interesting, because I've never come across a bet where you can choose a winning outcome along with a pushing outcome.
And also you're choosing your losing outcomes.
Yeah, as a result, right? Well,
As a result,
well, I mean,
right?
you kind of choose your losing outcome in any bet when you say,
Right.
well,
If
I'm
you
betting
bet
on
on one
4, so
number.
1, 2, 3 are my losing bets. But I've never seen one where it's like, I choose this for a win, I choose this for a push, as it being built into, sometimes it's built into the game.
Right.
Like if you place the 6, well, if 9 comes up, that's a push.
Right.
But that's built into the game. Here,
Right.
you actually pick which number will win and which number will push.
Right. There's only going to be a certain number of outcomes because there's only 4 numbers.
Yeah, there are only 4 possible outcomes, right? And the payout on this NIM bet is 2 to 1 minus the commission.
Okay.
And finally, you can even do a bet like
Well, that
this.
seems like a better bet than betting because you get 2 to 1.
Yeah.
Better than betting a 1 to 1, right? Picking 2 numbers, you
Sure.
said paid even money, right?
Yeah,
So I'd rather do a NIM, and because one will push, one will win,
right.
and when it wins, I get 2 to 1.
The problem is, though, remember the commission is based on winnings.
Right. Okay.
It's too bad it's not based on what you bet. So actually, the less you win, the less you're paying
less
in commission. Right?
you're going to pay. That's true.
But anyway, 2 to 1. There's actually a 3-number bet that's kind of like this NIM that you can bet on, called a Nga Tan. And I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. But that's where 2 of your 3 numbers are winners. 1 is a push. And only the 4th is a loser. Yeah.
What's that pay?
That pays 1 to 2.
1 to 2.
Minus the
Okay,
commission.
Yeah, I was going to say it'd have to be, I can only lose with one number.
Yeah.
And
Well,
one push.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was fascinating that there was actually a wager where you can decide, I want to win on this, I want to push on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's interesting.
That's fantastic. Now, here I've explained the game, and you probably won't find it unless you go to Macau. But
Right. Take away the betting. This is a child's game. She just randomly picks a bunch of buttons.
Yeah, that's
now,
it.
could a dealer get good enough?
well,
where
I
where
was
they
thinking
would
the same
know
thing.
how many
yeah.
they could get and
Yeah.
then cheat and always say to the guy, "Oh, I'm always going to have 2 left over."
Right. I mean, that's a really good point, and I'm sure with enough practice, some dealers could. So
Yeah.
I imagine the casino
You know how
watches
you
this
get
pretty.
used to. I mean, I can tell you what 21 millimeters is.
Yeah, 'cause you're used to it.
Because
Yeah.
I do 21 millimeters. It's a real common thing in what I do. So, and some people can pick up something and know exactly how much it weighs.
Sure,
'cause they
pick
do that all
a
the
certain number of
time.
cards out of a deck. Oh, I know how many cards there are.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
It's true. If you see this actually being played, I mean, they do move the buttons around quite a bit, and even when they collect them, there's a lot of movement there. It's not super precise. So,
Right.
but yeah, that's something to consider, right?
Yeah,
You
you
say,
would think.
well, okay, as a dealer, you cup it and you think, okay, I've done this enough. I know there's going to be 3 left over, and you signal to your accomplice, and I don't,
Right. And you
that
don't
could
do
be
it
an issue.
every time. You just do
Yeah.
it every once in a while. Like this
Yeah.
time, there's going to be 3 left over. Bet
Yeah.
on 3, and they load up.
Yeah.
I mean, It seems to me like that would be a common thing. Of course, if you did that in China, you'd probably,
Yeah, you don't just go to prison.
Yeah, bad things would happen to you. Bad things would happen to you.
All right, let's move on to our voicemail hotline. Remember, call our hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
And maybe we'll play your clip on the show. First up, it's Andrew.
Hey guys, Andrew from Richmond. I don't go up to D.C. to gamble often, but I'm currently on my way up. I've loaded up the podcast, and I saw the title of Dealing with Losses. I kind of feel like I should turn around right now. I've been on a hot streak here recently, and I feel like your show might jinx me. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to get to the casino, and I'll call you back with a trip report when I'm done. See you later, man.
All right, so we'll hear from Andrew later on.
That sounds like us. That sounds like us driving to the casino. Are you going to guarantee a win, Mike? Yeah, I'm going to guarantee a win for you tonight.
Nice.
Makes no sense. But we do it anyway.
Well, we'll see if it was a jinx. We'll hear from Andrew later. See how it turns out. Right.
If it's a jinx, it's me, and if he won, we know
me?
It's you.
Okay. All right. Here's Sean.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. My name is Sean. I'm from North Texas, Grayson County, just north of Dallas. I really enjoy your guys' podcast. I'm new to podcasts, but I found y'all's by the 360 link and some of the other podcasts about Vegas. I like going to Vegas. I like gambling. And I really enjoy y'all's podcast. Anyways, I've been thinking about calling here for the past month, ask y'all a question or something like that. Realized a lot of the questions I would ask them to answer in another podcast. Then I actually thought of one. I was wondering if you guys, I never heard this on your show, has any dealer tip-offs or anything like that ever helped y'all get an advantage on the casino? I had an issue, not an issue, but I had something like that, or did happen like that in Las Vegas a little over a year ago at a casino, Low Rollers Casino, playing blackjack, pitch black blackjack. So you're looking at your own cards and stuff like that. One deck blackjack. And we're just sitting there having a good time, doing whatever. Nobody really in there. It's kind of quiet. And I was telling my brother-in-law that never played before, definitely never played where he looked at his own cards and never played at a real casino. And man, just have a good time. Tip the dealers. If you tip the dealers, they're easier, they'll help you out, things like that. So we're sitting there for about 45 minutes to an hour, and we're tipping the dealer, tipping the girl bringing us the beer and things like that. And then without us asking or telling or anything like that, the two dealers that were in rotation basically started helping us out to the point where they were telling us pretty much when to hold and when to fold. I had a point where, I had like 16 on my end. They had a 4 showing, so I'm supposed to hit. I'm not supposed to hit. And then it got all messed up or whatever, and I busted, I wasn't paying attention. And it came around again where they actually had a face card, and I had, like 16, 15, couldn't remember. And the dealer actually just, I was telling him to hit, and he actually just waved his hand over his cards and said, no, don't hit. I said, I didn't pay much attention to it, I was like, well, he obviously had already seen his whole card because his face card was a 10, so he knew what he had. So I just, okay, whatever. So he turns his cards over. He had like 15. Turned the next one over. Of course, he busted. And this continued for about an hour.
And Sean got cut off there. He actually sent a follow-up email to kind of describe what was going on. But I think you get the gist of it there.
Right.
That it looked like it wasn't just the dealer giving advice like, here's how, basic strategy says to play.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, I've looked at my whole card to check for blackjack. I know what I have. Here's what you should do.
Right.
I've never seen that.
No,
happen.
I've certainly never had that happen to me.
I've gotten advice from dealers, but not based on, additional knowledge that they have about their whole card.
Yeah. And I'm surprised they could do that.
It's a little scary because if he's giving you advice based on knowledge of his whole card, he's helping you cheat. I mean, he's cheating for you basically.
Right.
And, if the casino saw it, they would assume that you're in collusion with them. That maybe, you planned this ahead of time.
They would not assume that you just met up that day and he was being nice. No, they would assume you talked about this beforehand.
Yeah. So nice that nobody seemed to get in trouble here. And but no, I've never seen anything like that before.
I've never seen.
I think the most we've ever seen is a dealer kind of realizes that he made a mistake, maybe in a payout or like the last hand, and then just kind of, oh well. You know, this happens and kind of looks the other way on that.
Right, we're not going to rehash that.
Yeah.
Let's just move on.
But never...
I've seen that a lot. You've seen that a lot where they page in, they realize afterwards like, oh, and then, it's like, oh, you've already collected the money. Instead of like going over it. I mean, I have had them ask me like, oh, I overpaid you. And I'm like, oh, okay, and, give it back. But sometimes they just blow it
just
off.
say,
and you can tell they realized it afterwards.
Yeah. But it's like, is it really worth it for them to go back? Does it look bad for them? But but anyway, but no, not outright like that. So it's an interesting story.
Yeah, that's a great story if you get away with it, I guess.
I guess so. All right, let's hear from G-Man.
Yeah, hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. My name's G-Man from Arizona. I was listening to episode 102 about losses, and I've been on quite the losing streak lately and quite discouraged from playing. Usually a poker, Texas Hold'em, 1-2 no limit, and a bunch of bad beats in the last couple months, and it kept me away from the tables. I was discouraged and stopped playing for about 4 months. So after hearing podcast 102, it gave me the courage to get back in there and get that feeling of winning again. And just wanted to give you a little recap from my Harrah's auction run. Decided after listening to the podcast to take a run over to auction and play a little bit of a 3-6 limit. And it took me about 6 hours, but ended up clearing up about 6 racks and bought in for only 1 rack, which was nice. And just wanted to thanks for the encouragement. And new listener was turned on to your show by a fellow passenger on the flight back home from Wisconsin. So like your podcast. You guys are doing a great job. Keep up the good work, and look forward to all the new episodes coming up. Have a good one. Bye.
Okay, thanks. It's a good story. Boy, turning one rack. So a rack, when you talk about a rack at a poker table, it usually means $100, right? 100
if it's
$1
singles,
chips.
If it's singles, it'd be $100.
So he turned one rack into 6 racks at a 3-6 limit game. That's no small feat.
No, that's pretty impressive. 6 times. If you started with 100, you end up with 600.
Yeah,
that's pretty
I used to try to grind out 3-6, at the casino, and if I could double my money, that'd be great. But boy, 6 times like that.
6 times is very good.
Well, we're glad you got back up on that horse, because if you play long enough, eventually you'll have a nice win. However, and I know, we talked about this on the last show about how, don't get down, kind of work through it. But to everyone out there, you should still only play if you can afford to lose. Just because we say you'll eventually win, because, eventually you're going to win, that doesn't mean you'll eventually win everything you've lost.
Right.
Okay.
Could you tattoo that on my forehead? No, not my forehead, on my arm where I can actually read it. You should do that.
All right.
If I'm ever going to get a tattoo, which is highly unlikely, but if I ever do, that's what it would be. All
right. That'd be a good one for you. We're saying, don't get discouraged, but we're also saying, hey, only play with money that you can lose, because we're not saying the winning streak is coming anytime soon. It may take quite a while.
You do seem to go through streaks, and I know this makes absolutely no sense, but we've had it where we've gone months, and
we've talked about it. Sure,
how can this be so bad? And then it'll turn around, and we'll have 3 months of great. Every time we go,
I know.
How can it be so good? Yeah. It's crazy. It happens a lot in poker.
Yeah,
the poker home games. For me, more than you.
Yeah.
But everyone gets in that, where they just can't win, or they just win a little.
Oh, I know. But I went a whole year.
You cannot lose.
I went a whole year in our home game and barely eked out a win. This year, I'm on fire.
Right.
I mean, it's like I can't lose.
Right.
And I'm not playing any differently.
No, it's just like everything's coming up your way.
You're right. You need some luck to go along with it. So anyway, good story. All right. Let's hear from T.
Hey guys, it's T from Arizona, where it's warm enough to bake cookies on the dashboard of your car just about every day. Anyway, I wanted to thank you both for everything you do here on the show. And just like you guys, I play craps wherever and whenever I can. Sadly, Arizona doesn't have live craps tables, but at least I can play the automated bubble craps game with about a 33-minute ride from the house. So I got about 2 questions for you today. One is, would each of you ever consider making a hedge bet on a craps table? One of the most compelling examples I can think of is to imagine if you had a $5 fire bet in play, and 5 unique points had already been made. At that point, you'd already be guaranteed at least a $1,250 win. So then let's pretend the final point needed established is a 10, and it is established. You could then choose to lay that 10 for $2,500, and holding aside the lay bet commission, you'd lock in a $2,500 win, regardless of whether the 7 or the 10 came first. On the other hand, if you didn't lay that 10, you'd have a 1 in 3 shot at winning $5,000 if the 10 came first, and a 2 in 3 shot at winning $1,250 if the 7 came too soon. So what would you guys do in that scenario, especially if up to that hot roll you had been jammed up in a deep and long losing streak, like caller Uncle Jackie from Massachusetts told us about in your last episode? The other thing I'd like to say is I gamble with a really solid crew that grinds it out at casinos all over the country, and our crew really likes to party hard and have a good time while we're settling in and earning. I was wondering if you'd be willing to share one of your great gambling party stories. You know, one of those times you'll never forget and you keep laughing about for years and years later. Again, I love the show. I just want to call a shout out to all the gambling soldiers out there who are battling with the casinos just trying to stay alive. If you're stuck in a losing streak, pick your chin up, breathe in that fresh pumped casino air, have a few of your favorite free drinks, and remember this is all the life we chose. Settle in and earn. Take care, guys. Love the show. Talk to you soon.
That's right.
That's well put.
That's well put. As long as you can afford to lose.
Right.
But no, that's true. This is the life that we've picked for ourselves, and this is how we live.
Yeah. Now, what did I always used to tell you? Now, this is going back many, many years. I mean, even back into our late 20s, early 30s.
Okay, what
would I tell you all the time?
Well, tell me. I don't remember.
We'd have a big loss, and
Yeah.
I turned to Mark and I said, "This is what we do."
That's right.
I would always say, "This is what we do.
This is what we do.
This is what we do." Hold your chin up.
That's
This is
true.
what we do. Sometimes, it works for us. Sometimes it doesn't, but it's what we do.
It's what we do. Hey, as far as the hedge bets go, yes, we have done this particular hedge bet. Now, normally we don't suggest hedging of any kind, but hitting 6 numbers on a fire bet is so rare that maybe that is the time to hedge.
And it is a good time, but
Yeah.
it creates a problem, though, because how much do you hedge?
You have to kind of decide, and you and I have talked about it. Yes. I think the thing that we prefer to do is hedge a little.
Right.
Don't hedge so that no matter what happens, you'll get the same amount.
Right.
Hedge just a little bit so that, if you don't hit that 6 number, you get a little something, because you're still going to get $250 for 1 on the 5. Yeah. Right. So
because this last weekend at Harrah's, Southern California, the table next to us, unfortunately not the one we were on, the guy had made 5 points. He came up on his 6th, which happened to be an 8.
Yeah. You want that, yeah.
So you're thinking, oh my God, an 8, he's going to hit all 6, right?
Yeah.
Well, only one person, there wasn't a lot of fire bet money on it, so I understand that. But one person did lay $3,000 on the 8.
Yeah.
Now he's only going to win $5,000 because it's a $5 maximum bet.
Yeah.
So if he hits all 6, he's going to win 5, but he's going to lose 3.
Yeah, that's too much, I think.
Yeah, and he's only going to have a net of $2,000 profit
for all 6 numbers. Yeah,
for all 6 numbers. Now he's still going to get $1,250 if 5 comes up.
You meant 8. You said 5 because
right.
5 is always the number that
5 is always the number
to
for
confuse
us.
the thing.
Right.
But he is going to win that hedge bet too.
Right.
He's going to get the $1,250, but he's going to win the hedge bet.
Win the
right?
hedge
So
bet.
yeah.
But I mean, it's an 8.
Yeah. No, I know.
I would. Maybe $1,500 at the most.
Yeah, just to get you a little bit more.
Right.
Now, we've been on a 6th number 3 times. The first time it was on a 5 at Bally's, and it didn't even occur to us to hedge.
No,
right?
no, we were so excited. Well, she made him really fast too.
She didn't roll the 5. The second time was when I was rolling, and again, it was up on a 5. You hedged it with a lay bet, and I made the 5. That was the only time we've hit all 6 numbers on the fire. Right. And then here recently at Harrah's, you were rolling. You were up on a 6th number. It was a 10.
Right.
And you laid against the 10. You didn't make the 10, so your hedge bet helped a little bit.
Right, I made the right move there.
Yeah. We've definitely
if your
done
number
that,
doesn't come up and you hedge against it, you win more because you still get the 5 plus that.
Right. Yes.
Right. So. And a 10, I have no problem. I might put 3,000 on a 10, right?
Maybe, but then again, still, if you hit the 10, you only get 2,000. Anyway, just a short answer, yes, that is a time when we'd hedge. Right. Now, as far as a gambling party story, I don't know. When we have like a big win, the way we party is we just gamble more. Right.
Well, you drink a little more.
Well, the only thing I can really think of, and this was back in our college days, we were there with a bunch of guys, and Greg and I decided that we'd have a drinking contest. That's the way that we kind of celebrated.
Right.
And you were the judge.
I was the judge to determine who. It was basically to see who could drink the most in a night.
Greg drinks way more than I ever did.
Right.
But I'm pretty big, so I was able to kind of take it. You were the judge.
Yeah.
You judged that I won.
Yeah.
Because after all the drinks that we'd had
all night long of drinking,
Mm-hmm.
you were able to eat 2, I believe, McChicken sandwiches at McDonald's
with extra mayonnaise.
Yep. And I thought,
I
if you can eat that much mayonnaise after drinking all that without puking, you deserve it.
I didn't throw up. So that's how we party.
Yeah.
All right. Next call. Let's hear from Cousin Vito. He's the host of the new Cousin Vito podcast.
Hey guys, Vito from Connecticut. I just wanted to give you a call. I've been reading about that California is getting closer and closer to legalizing online poker again. I remember you and Dr. Mike talking about you used to play on Full Tilt, which was a good time. And I just wanted to know, if they do legalize it, are you going to rush to play again? And when you did play, did you prefer playing cash games, sit and goes, or big tournaments? Because I used to find myself torn. I kind of like the sit and goes because they didn't last as long. But, the big tournaments have, big pie in the sky usually. Thanks for the time. Hope to hear from you soon.
I don't know how close we are in California. I hope it's, sooner than later. But if we do get it back, are you going to rush back to play?
I'll play. I'll play, but I don't know that I'll play. My problem with online poker is I just don't have a lot of time.
Well, see, and this kind of goes to the next question he was asking about is what do we like to play? Because I'm definitely going back. As soon as they have it in California, I'm going back in. But I don't like playing tournaments or anything like that because of the time.
It's the time constraints.
Usually when I'm playing, I say, I've got 5 minutes here. Maybe I'll play some poker.
Yeah, sit and go's okay because it's faster.
It's faster, but even so, seriously, Mike, I would play rush poker on Full Tilt. They have something similar on PokerStars called Zoom Poker.
Right.
And that was great because literally it's like, okay, I've got 3 minutes before the kids are ready to, go out in the car, right? So it's like, okay, I'm going to play poker real quick. With this rush poker, you got on the table right away.
Right.
You can fold hands as soon as you see them, right?
Yes.
You don't have to wait for action to come around to you. And man, I'll tell you, at the low limits, people really overplay top pair.
Right.
So if you're patient, I was winning it. I wasn't crushing it, but I was definitely winning at this rush poker. So I
the
wouldn't
lower limits.
Yeah, at the lower limits, exactly. So
Right.
that's what I would do. I wouldn't do any tournaments or anything like that.
I mean, I would probably do something like that as well, just because my problem is time.
Oh, of course.
I'm at work, and then I've got a family at home, and I don't have a lot of time, and I can do a little before I go to bed every night.
Yeah.
And that's basically what I was doing.
Well, and when you're at home, interruptions come all the time. It's like, oh, Mike, can you help me with something? Oh, yeah, let me just fold this hand. And then, you're not in a tournament. You don't need to worry about it.
But he's right, though. Those tournaments are where the big money is.
Well, sure. But
and it's kind of tempting. And, if you have time.
If you have time. But, if you're really going to compete for those big tournaments,
I mean, some
you've
of them
got to take
are
it really.
hours.
You've got to take it really seriously too. And there's some pretty good players online. So yeah. Okay, let's hear from Will.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Will from North Carolina again. And I'm just finishing up another Vegas trip. And I had a question. I guess it applies more to Mark than it does to Dr. Mike, because it has to do with staying disciplined at the craps table. Because what I've noticed is originally when I started playing craps, I was very conservative. I pretty much always made pass line bets, come bets, some place bets, single odds usually. And it was really fun because I got to stretch out my play a really long time, which was always kind of my original goal. But recently what I've noticed is I've kind of gotten roped into making some of the bets that aren't quite as good. Like I'll make the feature bets sometimes, or I'll throw out the hard ways. And they're really, really fun, and I have a really good time. And one good thing I am good at is sticking to my bankroll. I never go beyond my set limit for the entire trip. And I have a really fun time making those bets. But the problem is I realize that a lot of times I'll end up running out of money before my trip is over with, kind of like you guys talked about a few episodes ago. And the problem is that I end up, not being able to stretch my play nearly as much. So I was wondering, Mark, if you have any kind of mental tricks you use as you're playing to keep yourself disciplined, or even Dr. Mike. I mean, I know you play more haphazardly, but maybe you have a system for like when you parlay or when you press your bets. And I was just wondering how you guys stay disciplined at the craps table in order to stretch out the play. Because, there's kind of pros and cons to each. I like playing a little bit riskier because then you have that monster night that I had this first night where I quadrupled my buy-in. But in the rest, the whole trip has been pretty ugly, and I've really lost very quickly. And now here I am on the last night. I don't have any money left to gamble, and that's okay. But
I was wondering what tricks you guys use to stay disciplined. So I appreciate it, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, this is kind of tough.
It's a very tough question.
Because, it's hard to say, well, act like this, don't act like this. Yeah. I guess one thing to keep in mind is that if you are playing very disciplined and just making the same bets every time, and let's say you're somehow missing out on, a bunch of hard ways, or there's a bunch of things happening that you're just not taking advantage of because you're staying disciplined. Yeah, that is kind of annoying and it hurts. But I'll tell you what hurts worse is when you start making bets like that and none of them are working for you.
Right.
So if you can kind of keep that in mind, that's one thing.
Well, I think you have to decide before you enter into any gambling situation, what am I going to do? Am I going to be disciplined? Am I going to stay this? Or am I just going to go out there and, give me a 12, every roll. And if I lose, I lose. And then you got to get that clear in your head that, you could lose going crazy.
Yeah.
But if you're okay with that.
That's the thing. Yeah. If you're
okay with that, then go for it. And if you're not okay with it, if you can honestly say to yourself, no, I wouldn't be okay with that. I wouldn't be okay the last day having no money.
Yeah.
Then you have to be disciplined and you have to keep reminding yourself, stay disciplined because I want to have money that last day.
Yes.
But a lot of people will do this. They'll budget out so much a day.
Sure. Right. Or
so they're certain they have
maybe
enough
you take a certain amount of money, you put it in an envelope. This is Saturday.
Right.
You put some different money, you put it in an envelope. That's Sunday, right? You don't open up those envelopes. I know that's hard to do.
It's very hard. It's impossible for me.
A lot of forward envelope opening happens when you're on a trip, but it's a good way to do it. I don't know. One thing you might want to try to do is before you start a session, review the math on those so-called fun bets. Now, for example, if you always bet $5 each on the all small tall, so $15 total, you'll lose about $15 per hour, depending on, how fast your table is moving, but about $15 an hour you're going to lose making that bet. Okay. On the other hand,
I think it'd be more than that, but
because every once in a while you hit one of the big ones, right? And that, so, again, this is an average over a long period of time. Yeah. Right. Typically you won't hit any of them. You're going to win. You're going to lose quite a bit more.
You're going to lose quite a bit more.
This is just the average. But that is a good point. When something has a variance like that, you can have big swings up and down. Right. On the other hand, with a pass line bet, let's say you just put $15 on a pass line bet, you're going to lose about $5 an hour.
Yeah, and that's more likely to happen. The variance is
not nearly as much. Right.
So in a short time, let's say you're only playing for a couple hours, that's more likely you're only going to lose $30 on the pass line.
Yeah. So, like in 8 hours, you will have lost $120 on the all small tall, but only $40 on the pass line. Again, these are just averages, but if you're talking about averages,
it shows you the difference.
Yeah. Now I've shown Dr. Mike how much he loses on prop bets as opposed to just pass line and come bets per hour. I've actually shown it to you.
Yeah, you print it all out.
It's staggering, Mike.
And I know the math, and you show it to me. And you know what I do? I look at that. I agree with you that that's what's going to happen. I rip it up and throw it out the window.
Because you like to make the bets, and that's fun for you, and you understand that. Okay, yeah.
And I'm okay with losing.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, right today, I'm not so okay with it.
It was a rough weekend last weekend, folks. We'll tell you right now. It was rough.
Let me just take a second and tell what happened.
All right. Here comes the bad news that I knew was eventually coming.
So we're playing at this craps table, and we're there all night, this one table. And, it started off okay, but then it got to a point where it just was bad. I mean, just bad.
Yep.
And finally, we're out of money.
Yeah.
I got to the point where I don't want to lose anymore. You got to the point where you don't want to lose anymore.
No.
And so my dad was playing with us. He had lost his bankroll.
Yep.
I had lent him some money and he had lost that. And it was like, okay, we've had enough.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah.
So we color up what little bit we have left. You and I go to the cashier. My dad sits on his scooter next to the table because I'm cashing his chips. And then we had some other errands to run.
Yeah.
While we were gone, the very next guy.
Yeah.
Now, there was only me, you, my dad, this guy, and another guy.
Yeah.
So we leave, the three of us. There's only two guys.
Yeah.
The very next guy gets the dice. We come back to the table after cashing in and doing all of our errands.
Yep.
He's made his third fire number and repeated one once. So he's already made 4 points. Mm-hmm. He establishes a fourth fire number.
Yep, it was a 9. He was up on his fourth number.
2 rolls later, he rolls it. So he wins the fire bet
on
for
four numbers at least.
At least 4.
Mm-hmm.
And he had made 5 points to that point. And I smoke was coming out of my head. It's still coming out of my head.
You couldn't stick around. We didn't even see the end of the guy's roll.
No,
so
I said, that's it.
Yeah.
I cannot. We sat here all damn night.
Yeah, and then the very next shooter.
We couldn't do a thing. The very next shooter would have got me all the way back to even.
Oh, me too. Easily.
I mean, you would have been ahead.
Yeah, probably.
I would have got all the way back to even, and he probably made the 5th and 6th number for all I know. They'll probably tell me when I go out there this weekend. Yeah. But I was so stinking mad.
I know. Hey, that happens.
And then the week before, I was down and I got the dice, and here was my roll. I came out with a point of 5. I rolled a hard 10, then a hard 8, then a hard 6, then a hard 4, and then 7 downs.
Yeah, so the way that you're playing, you've gone up on like 2 come numbers that don't repeat. You've parlayed your hard ways that don't repeat. So all you've done is lost a ton of money, more than you could have in any other circumstance.
And my wife's standing next to me, and after I rolled and I made that hard 4, I turned to her and I said, "This is going to be the roll. If I repeat any of these hard ways, I mean, it was going so well." And then boom, 7 out.
I'll tell a story about this last weekend too. You know, we were talking on the last episode about switching between pass line and don't pass, right? And I've noticed the last few weeks, then when you're away from the table, it gets really cold. Yeah. It's not necessarily hot when you're there. It can be hot or cold, but when you're away, it's cold. Yeah. So this time you left the table. You went to do some errands, and I said, "Okay, I'm going to the don't." I won every single bet on the don't while you were away.
I know.
Every single bet.
Isn't that crazy?
So stupid.
Yeah, you shouldn't have switched back.
Yeah, no kidding. If I'd stayed on the don't the rest of the night, it would have been fine. Okay, moving on. So we got an audio question from Michael over at Vegas Bright. Let's hear from Michael.
Hello, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Michael Movestro from the Vegas Bright podcast and vegasbright.com. I'm a longtime listener and a first-time question asker. I was at the Mirage playing video poker, and I tend to play video poker everywhere when I'm in Vegas. And I've been playing for years now, and, I feel like I'm due for a royal flush. So I get a hand in front of me, ace of hearts, 4 of hearts, 6 of spades, king of hearts, ace of clubs. Now, typical jacks are better. Of course, I should be holding down the ace of hearts and the ace of clubs, but I really want that royal to happen. So I've kind of changed up my gameplay where if I see an opportunity to help a royal happen, I will opt for that option instead of holding down the guaranteed jacks or better. So instead of holding down the ace of hearts and the ace of clubs, I would hold down the ace of hearts and the king of hearts to sort of try and help that royal along. My question is, am I helping it or hurting it by trying to help the royal along? Should my best option should just be hold down the guaranteed jacks or better? I'm curious to know what you guys think, and I look forward to your advice. Thanks so much.
All right, Mark is going to go through and explain all this.
Yeah.
But I haven't read it.
Okay.
You've got it written down here. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to tell you just empirically. Yeah, I mean, just from what I think in my head.
Okay. All right.
Hold the aces.
Okay. That's what you figure you should do? Hold the aces?
Yeah, hold the aces, go for the guaranteed win because it's just too hard to get that royal flush. Now, it's different if you've got 3 to it or 4 to it. And that
it's
might be
different if you
story.
have 4 to it.
Yeah, okay.
That's true.
4 to it. Well, you have 4 to it, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, right.
Right. If you have 3 to it, I can understand people staying. Now, I don't know. I haven't worked out the math, and it's probably not that good. But yeah, I don't know. In the long run, that just seems like it's going to kill you. Okay, now you explain it and tell me what I should do.
Okay, so now if Michael is asking, is he helping his chances of hitting a royal flush by holding the ace and king? Well, yes, because your chances of hitting a royal flush by keeping the 2 aces is 0. Right. Can't make a royal flush with 2 aces. And your chances of hitting a royal flush by keeping the ace and king of hearts is 1 in a little over 16,000. So it's still pretty rough, but it's not 0. So if you only hold on to cards that make it possible to hit a royal flush, yes, it does increase your odds of hitting a royal flush.
Eventually.
And it increases the chances of it happening sooner than later.
Okay. That I'll buy.
Now, are you helping your chances of winning at video poker? Absolutely not. No, your goal at video poker should not be to make a royal flush at all costs.
You just think you should let it happen when it happens.
Yeah, I mean, there are times when you do hold it, but there are times when you don't. And when you have a pair of aces is definitely a time when you don't go for the royal flush. Like you said, you're guaranteed to at least get your money back on a
Right.
jacks or better
And you
machine.
can get trips
and you
or
could get
two-pair.
more. Right. Now, how bad is Michael's example? On a full pay $1 jacks or better machine, where you're playing 5 coins, so $5 per hand. If you keep the pair of aces, the machine will pay back an average of $7.68 in the long run on that hand. You know, you're guaranteed to at least get your $5 back. Sometimes you'll improve to 2 pair, trips, full house, even 4 of a kind. So $7.68. Now, what that means is $2.68 profit. Because you're getting your $5 back,
And this is
plus
in the
an
long
additional
run. So
in the long run.
You're talking about, say, 1 million pushes.
Sure, in the long run, $2.68. If instead you hold on to the ace and king of hearts, the average return on your $5 in the long run is $2.48. In other words, you're losing $2.52 each time you play that hand in the long run. So it's a huge mistake. And the mistake is even worse on bonus poker or double double bonus machines, because 4 aces, pay
so much.
quite a bit more.
Right.
And, when you hit those 4 aces, when you hold on to a pair of aces, every once in a while you hit those 4 aces. So it's even worse on the machine like that. So if you want to play so that all you're concerned about is getting that royal flush, go ahead if you find fun in that. But keep in mind that you'll be losing way more money in the long run if you play that
I
way.
can understand what he wants to do here, though.
Of course, sure. We've never hit one.
We play a fair amount of video
We
poker.
play a fair amount because all our free play goes to video poker.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, we're playing a fair amount of video poker every week, and we have not hit one. And
No.
I've been dealt 4 to it, and not hit it.
Sure.
We've plenty of times had 3 to it and not hit it. So, and meanwhile, our friend Mary was dealt it.
And her husband was dealt it
Yeah.
at the airport. I know we've said this before, but at the airport?
They're Irish, so you got to
Luck
factor
of the
that
Irish.
into,
Okay, yeah, I guess that's it. Okay, thanks for the question, Michael. All right, you want to see how Andrew did?
Yeah, let's
He
see.
was worried about driving out there after.
I've been praying for him
All
this
right,
whole time.
Here, let's find out what happened.
Hey guys, Andrew from Richmond calling back with a quick trip report update from DC and Maryland. I definitely lost at first, but I followed Dr. Mike's great advice of going to the ATM to chase your losses.
Excellent.
And it definitely paid off. I won about 5 times what I initially came in with. So, anyway, love the show, guys. Look forward to next week. Hopefully it's a longer episode.
All right,
So
there you
Andrew
go.
became the first person in America to listen to me.
Oh my God! Went to the ATM.
Yep, good
Something
for
that
him.
we don't necessarily suggest, but if you can afford it, if you can lose it,
If you can lose it, go to the ATM, get your ass in gear, and take them for everything they're worth.
Okay, that's going to do it for this episode. Hey, we want to thank some people for some PayPal donations. First of all, Ethan, he was the one who last week we were talking about that blackjack challenge, where he
Right.
went with his friend on that. He also sent us a video that he took of the Riviera implosion. He was there for that live.
right.
So
Did you
thanks
put
for
that
that.
on,
No, I should. I should. Yeah, I'll look into maybe posting that. Yeah. Also, thank you, James. He says, thanks for the great podcast. Headed to Las Vegas for our 11th wedding anniversary. So great. Congratulations on that. And finally, Dr. Taylor, you know what he did? He went to Vegas and he contacted us and he said, hey, let me know what Padre game you want me to bet on while I'm here, and I'll make a wager for you. So we decided, Dr. Mike, you would pick the game, and
Right.
you picked the game. It was the Padres against the Yankees on Saturday night. I think it was July 2nd.
July 2nd.
And
Saturday
you wanted
night.
to go with the Padres because our best pitcher was out there.
Right. They have 5 starting pitchers, none of which were on their starting roster on opening day.
Yeah.
Because they've either been injured or got rid of them or whatever.
Yeah.
But the guy pitching that Saturday
Yeah,
night
Pomerantz, yeah.
was Pomerantz, and he's our best pitcher today. And he didn't disappoint. He
Nope.
pitched great.
It was a very exciting game. We actually won it in the bottom of the 9th, right, with a
On
home run. So
yeah.
it was close.
It was 0-0 most of the game, and then they each scored a run somewhere like 6th or 7th inning. It stayed 1-1, and we won on a solo home run in the bottom of the 9th.
Nice. So again, thanks for that, Taylor. Taylor also said that the pool at the Plaza recently opened, and he says it has a mini craps table, $5 minimum, 5 times odds, and $5 minimum 3 to 2 6-deck blackjack right by the pool there.
Do you have to be in the pool, or is this next to the pool?
I think it's next to the pool.
Okay,
but,
that I
yeah,
could do. I don't know. I don't want to be in the pool.
Hey, be sure to check out our TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. We update those listings every Wednesday using a customized program to search through all the raw American TV data. Just go to our webpage, youcanbetonthat.com, and click on the link at the top that says TV listings. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS. Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. Also, follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat. We tweet when we're heading to a casino, and we'd love to meet up with you. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. And finally, head on over to iTunes and write a review on us. When you do, it helps us get new listeners. All right, take us home, Dr. Mike.
Well, before our next podcast, you'll have gone to Comic-Con.
Oh gosh, what is today? No, we're gonna have one more podcast. We're gonna record the night before Comic-Con if we stay on this schedule. Yes, because Comic-Con.
Aren't you going to Wednesday though?
No, we didn't get Wednesday. We couldn't get the preview night tickets.
So you're going Thursday.
So Thursday will be our first day.
So we will record that day.
We'll record, or gosh, maybe we'll record early. We'll talk about it, but we will have one more podcast coming out before Comic-Con.
Okay, well that's what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
I wanted you to tell me what's the big thing at Comic-Con.
All right, well let's talk
Star
about
Trek.
Let's talk about it on the next episode because they still haven't released the schedule yet. Of course, Star Trek's going to be there because the new movie comes out that same weekend.
Yes,
I know there'll be talks about the Rogue One and all the Star Wars stuff and everything.
Stuff.
So.
I heard today, though, on the radio that they are going to have a Star Trek panel with Shatner.
Oh, good.
And I think several other people and the guy who directed the new movie.
Mm-hmm.
But also on that panel, Jerry Ryan.
Oh, there you go. 7 of 9?
7 of 9.
All right.
Yeah. And, for those of you out there who know what Jerry Ryan looks like, that's a reason to go to the panel.
All right. Very good. Do you have tickets?
No,
they haven't.
Unfortunately not.
Maybe you'll get some here before too long.
I might get some, but I kind of doubt it.
You have to look into them.
Yeah, my wife's not real interested in going again because it's such a huge crowd.
Yeah,
I mean, and I probably only
crowded.
go one day.
Yeah. Well, if you get a ticket, let me know. Maybe we can go to a panel or two. So, all right. Thanks for listening.
Good night.